Hello children, welcome back to the another beautiful session on English literature. In this session, we will discuss about the remaining part of the first lesson, A Voyage to Brobdingnag, written by Jonathan Swift. Before we proceed with the lesson, let us quickly recapitulate what we had learned in the previous class. Gulliver's mistress had a 9-year-old daughter who was very dexterous in her needlework and was very smart in making dolls. She made Gulliver some clothes and also taught him their native language. Gulliver called her Glumdalclitch, which means little nurse, and she named him Grildrig, which means doll. The farmer's neighbors heard about Gulliver and wanted to see him. One of the neighbors suggested that the farmer should charge people to see Gulliver. Glumdalclitch did not like this plan, as she feared someone might hurt Gulliver or take him away. Now children, let us see what happens next. Following the advice of his friend, my master carried me in a box to the next market day to the neighboring town, and took along with him his little daughter, my nurse, on the pillion behind him. The box was closed on every side, with a little door for me to go in and out, and a few holes to let in air. The girl had been thoughtful enough to put her doll's quilt into it for me to lie on. However, I was terribly shaken by the end of the journey, for the horse went about 40 feet at every step and tottered so high that the movement was equal to the rising and falling of a ship in a great storm. So children, in this paragraph, the farmer took the suggestion of one of his friends and decided to take Gulliver to the marketplace and to put him on display for others as an object of curiosity. The farmer carried Gulliver in a small box. He took along with him his little daughter Glumdalclitch, who was Gulliver's nurse, on the pillion behind him. Pillion means a place behind the person riding a motorcycle for a passenger to sit. The box was closed on every side with a small opening for Gulliver to go in and out, and there was few holes to let the air pass in. Glumdalclitch had put the doll's quilt means blanket, so that Gulliver can lie on it. The journey was very uncomfortable, as the horse moved very violently, and it was like being in a ship during storm. My master arrived at an inn, and after consulting the innkeeper, hired the town crier to give notice through the town of a strange creature to be seen at the inn, not as big as a splachnock, and in every part of the body resembling a human being, which could speak several words and perform 100 entertaining tricks. I was placed on the table in the largest room of the inn. My little nurse stood on a stool close to the table to take care of me and direct what I should do. To avoid a crowd, my master would only allow 30 people at a time to see me. In this paragraph, Gulliver explained that when they arrived at the town, they stayed in an inn. Inn referred to rest house, and after consulting a while with the innkeeper and making some necessary preparations, farmer appointed the town crier. Town crier refers to a person who is responsible for making announcements in public. So the farmer appointed a town crier for what? To inform that a strange creature referred to Gulliver, that a strange creature to be seen at the inn, and it resembled human being and can also speak several words and can perform entertaining tricks. Later, Gulliver was placed on a table. in the largest room of the inn, while Glumdalclitch sat down on a stool beside him. To avoid crowd, 30 people at a time were allowed to walk through as he performed tricks. I walked about on the table as the girl commanded. She asked me questions as far as she knew my understanding of the language reached, and I answered them as loudly as I could. I paid my respects to the gathering several times, and made some other speeches that I had been taught. I took up a thimble filled with a drink, which Glumdalclitch had given me as a cup, and drank to their health. My nurse gave me a part of a straw, which I treated as a pike. That day I was shown to 12 sets of people and forced to do the same acts till I was half dead with weariness and annoyance. In this paragraph, Gulliver explained that how he walked about on the table as Glumdalclitch commanded. He followed all the instructions given by her. He stood up and bowed politely to the gathering. He made few speeches that Glumdalclitch taught him. She gave him a thimble filled with a drink so as to satisfy his hunger. Thimble referred to a small cover, usually of metal or plastic, worn to protect the finger that pushes the needle when sewing. Glumdalclitch gave him a part of a straw, which he used as a pike. Pike referred to a sharp point or a spear. Gulliver was shown to the 12 set of people and was forced to act over again and again until he was half dead with weariness. Weariness means tired. And annoyance. Annoyance means irritation. My master would not allow anyone to touch me except my nurse. To prevent danger, benches were put around the table to keep me out of everybody's reach. However, a schoolboy aimed a hazelnut as big as a pumpkin at my head, which very narrowly missed me. For this, he was scolded and sent out of the room. So children, in this paragraph, you can see that how Farmer, for his own interest, would not allow anyone to touch Gulliver, except Glumdalclitch. In order to keep Gulliver out of everybody's reach, he placed few benches around the table. A young schoolboy threw a hazelnut towards Gulliver's head. Hazelnut referred to a round brown hard-shelled nut. But luckily he missed his aim. It was almost as large as a pumpkin. But Gulliver had the satisfaction to see that the young boy was scolded by everyone and he was turned out of the room. I was so tired with my first journey and with entertaining people for 8 hours together that I could hardly stand on my legs or speak a word. It was at least 3 days before I recovered my strength. I had no rest at home either, as all the neighboring people, hearing of my fame, came to see me at my master's house. And my master demanded the rate of a full moon whenever he showed me to the people. Therefore, for some time I had little rest during the week, although I was not carried to the town. Farmer gave public notice that he would show Gulliver again the next market day. Gulliver was exhausted by the journey to the marketplace, but upon returning to the farmer's house, he found that he was to be shown there as well. People from miles around came to see him, and were charged huge sums to view him. Finding how profitable I was likely to be, my master resolved to carry me to the most important cities of the kingdom. Having provided himself with all things necessary for a long journey, and settled his affairs at home, he took leave of his wife. On the 17th of August, about 2 months after my arrival, we set out for the metropolis. My master made his daughter Glumdalclitch ride behind him. She carried me on her lap in a box tied about her waist. So here, Farmer thought Gulliver could make him a great fortune. So he resolved means determined. So he resolved to carry Gulliver and Glumdalclitch on a tour throughout the kingdom, including visiting the kingdom's metropolis. Metropolis means a very large cities, the most important city in the big country. Farmer made his daughter to ride behind him. She carried Gulliver on her lap and took care of him. We travelled distances of not more than 100 miles a day. For Glumdalclitch, on purpose to comfort me, complained she was tired with the trotting of the horse. She often took me out of my box at my own desire, to give me air and show me the country, but often held me fast by lead strings. On our journey, we passed many rivers border and deeper than the Nile or Ganges. We travelled for 10 weeks before we arrived at the metropolis called in their language Braille, or Pride of the Universe, on the 26th day of October. In this paragraph, Gulliver explained how Farmer had a design or plan to show him in all the towns by the way. He travelled under the care of Glumdalclitch. She knew how difficult it was for him to be displayed at markets. She often complained to her father that she was tired with the trotting of the horse. Trotting means slow movement of a horse, so that he can travel slowly. On their journey, they passed through many rivers. Finally, on 26th day of October, after travelling for 10 weeks, they all arrived at the central city of Braille. Now let's see the analysis of this lesson. In this lesson, Jonathan Swift had given the farmer's example. One thing the Brobdingnagians had in common with the Lilliputians was a drive to exploit the power they had over others for personal gain. In Lilliput, that kind of exploitation was generally illustrated in the ruling class. But here, the drive to abuse power appeared in a common farmer. The temptation to abuse power was part of human nature, regardless of class, social standing, size, or even personality. In this lesson, the farmer was initially kind to Gulliver for his own sake. But once he noticed a profit to be made, his attitude towards Gulliver changed. He no longer cared about Gulliver's well-being. He was concerned about what Gulliver can do for him, and he was ready to do anything for the sake of money. On the other hand, Glumdalclitch had more control over Gulliver's life than any other character in Brobdingnag, and she always concerned about his welfare. So here I complete your first lesson, A Voyage to Brobdingnag. Shall meet you in the next class. Until then, bye.